it seems like every time you pick up the paper, you read about some poor slob getting his teeth knocked out, all right? By the same damn bad guys. We got some good news for you, gang. We're reporting it from Detroit. The people have had enough. They're fighting back, and I love it. Tonight, we're going to meet a Detroit man, all right? Who got tired of nobody doing a damn thing about the crack house in his block. So what did he do? Well, he burned the damn crack house to the ground. Let me tell you something else. Let me tell you about an 80-year-old man, America. An 80-year-old man right here in Detroit. He found two young punks in his garage. You know what Gramps Pittman did? He blew their ass away. Vigilante justice, Detroit style. Join me. Let me introduce the players in this ball game, baby, for your scorecards, all right? Home base, we have Perry Kent. He burned the damn crack house down. At home base, we have David Steingold. He's the hero's attorney. And at the loudmouth, as usual, a member from the ACLU, let me introduce Alan Zeller. Let's give, in fairness to the ACLU, we don't even know where we stand on this issue. Let's give the ACLU a chance to prove that they're probably right with us. Alan? Before I get into the body of this show, a story is broken right here in Detroit today, which I think a genuine pablum puker like yourself is going to appreciate. As I hope you heard in my opening, an 80-year-old man who shot at two punks robbing his house has now been arrested for murder. I think you'd probably protect him, wouldn't you?
Damn right they do.
You'd protect him, wouldn't you?
Would I what?
Protect the guy who shot these punks and he's being accused of murder?
Would I protect him? Would I defend him? Yes, I would. But I would also attack him just as I'm going to attack you for the simple reason. The English
You're going to attack me? Have I shot someone yet?
No.
Huh?
If...
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, let him talk. Let him talk, man. I want to hear him.
The English used to cut off the hands of somebody who stole a loaf of bread. The Muslims will stone somebody who was an adulteress or an adulterer. What do we do if we don't have a country of laws? If we don't have a country of laws, then we have anarchy and nobody can live anywhere. If the law says you can defend yourself, then damn well go out and defend yourself. But if the law says somebody is running away and they're running and then you kill them, you have decided they're guilty, you've decided what the punishment is, and you've decided you're going to do it.
Wait a second. Let me ask you this. Let me ask him. I see someone in my garage. I say, hey, what's going on in there? They turn and they start to run. Now, I'm not sure that they haven't come out of my house. All right? And wait a second. I'm not sure they haven't come out of my house. They may have raped my wife. They may have killed my kid. All right? I yell, stop. The son of a bitch doesn't stop. And I shoot him. Am I still guilty?
The answer is, if you find them in your house, you have every right to defend your house, whatever means you can. If they're outside your house and they're running away and you have not seen them do anything wrong, you don't have the right to kill anybody.
So if they're in my garage, which is part of my house, I have the right to shoot?
Probably, depending upon the state of the law in this state.
Well, if the state of the law says you can't defend yourself and your family, and you can't get the police there in time, then you better defend yourself. And I don't mean just white people, baby. I mean black, white, orange, green, any damn American. Any of them. Now let me come to Perry. Okay, Perry. Now, you already know how the lawyer feels. Tell me about the events that occurred on Barlow Street in Detroit last fall. I want the nation to hear this story.
Well, last year we had a good neighborhood. It was all right. A couple people moved out because the house was getting run down.
No one moved in. No one moved in. Some crack dealers took over an abandoned house.
Started shooting it up.
What difference does that make?
Let me hear him explain his story. Sir, we'll have a loudmouth open for you. Go ahead,
Some
Perry.
crack dealers moved into the house.
Huh?
Some crack dealers moved into the house.
How did you know they were crack dealers?
Because there was a lot of gunplay, there was a lot of traffic. There was a lot of just all kinds of traffic coming in. There's a lot of gunplay.
Did the traffic come in this way and did it walk out this way?
They didn't have to go in the house. They were dealing in the streets, right out in front of everybody. Broad daylight.
How did you know what they were dealing? Did you try to buy some? Did you try to buy some?
Huh?
Did you try to buy some?
No.
Did you have anyone you knew who bought some?
No, we didn't.
Did you have anyone you spoke to who had bought some?
Well, they would come to us. They would ask us if we wanted to buy some.
Oh, they'd ask you if you wanted to buy some?
They would ask us.
Okay, so the new occupants of the house asked you.
And the guys are selling crack. They call me the mayor of Barlow. Now the girls, young girls, 12, 13 years old, will come on our block and sell a little bit of the trim to get some money to go to that house to buy some crack. I've seen it, and my neighbors did it.
I mean, now I'm not going to a break. I want to talk to this guy here, David. Mr. Steingold, Perry Kent tells us a story that involves another person, and that person hasn't been named, Angelo Parisi, all right? Your clan. What are the charges filed against this guy, and what did a jury of his peers decide?
Both Angelo and Perry were charged with burning real property.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Zip it.
They were charged with arson.
Zip it, man. I want to hear the story or get your ass out.
They were both charged with arson. Barry Adler, my co-counsel, and I defended them, arguing that...
Okay, don't tell me the argument. What did the jury decide?
They said they were justified.
Justified, not guilty.
Not guilty.
Now tell me about the makeup. Tell me, I want to show you exactly how tough Detroit really is. What was that jury made up of?
It was mixed. There was black, there was white.
Black and white worked together, all right?
Everybody.
And decided everybody was going on. And that's what goes on. Now, was the burning down the crack house on Barlow Street vigilante justice? Well, as some people are saying, glorified cross burning. Stay with us. player on your scorecard. Let me introduce Horace Sheffield, the 3rd Metro Detroit Anti-Crime Coalition. Horace, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
I guess, of course, you're going to applaud, I hope, the fact that Perry and his partner burnt down that crack house and kicked those punks out of the neighborhood, right?
I don't applaud them at all. In fact, I don't applaud them at all. In fact,
don't applaud them?
I don't applaud them at
Why?
all. Because I think there's a few different elements here which have not been addressed. Number one, no one has spoken to the fact that the homeowner was a black woman, one of the few black homeowners on the block. The people who were in the house.
Was she living in the house?
She wasn't.
Was she renting? Wait a second.
Hey, can I finish? Can I finish before you ask your questions?
Go ahead.
And no one has addressed the fact that these were black people who were in the property.
Were they selling crack?
As far as I'm concerned, I don't care what they were selling.
You don't care what they were selling? And you're with the Crime Commission?
Let me finish what I'm going to say. Number one, I do believe that it was racially motivated. Number two, I also believe that what they did was against the law.
Their jury did.
Against the law.
A jury of their peers
They
did.
were lucky. They were lucky. Everyone will not be as fortunate to sit here on the Morton Downey show. The rest of the folk may, in fact, wind up in the Wayne County Jail or Jackson Prison.
Well, I would hope a white man or a black man would have the guts to burn down a crack house.
It takes more guts to get out there and be involved in the community and assume some responsibility in a legal way to rid your neighborhood crack house.
What the hell good is a legal way?
I work every day.
Yeah?
I'm involved
How many
with
crack
communities
houses?
every day.
How many crack houses have
Many
you
of
closed
them.
down?
I haven't closed them down personally.
You haven't
but
closed
the city
any
of
down.
Detroit has.
There are 10,000 crack houses. They close 12 a day.
How do you know they close?
I know what the statistics are.
Let me say this. If what you feel this is justified, then I would be justified as a black man who's frustrated over my freedom to go to the White House and burn it down because black folks are in the poorhouse. You don't live in Detroit.
You're a racist.
You don't live in Detroit.
You're a racist.
You're a bigot. You're a bigot. You're a bigot. You're a bigot. You're a bigot.
It's a racially motivated thing. Wait a second. I'll get to you. You're hearing a guy tell me that burning down a crack house where they're selling crack to kids, black or white, and I don't give a damn what it is, when there's 10,000 crack houses in this town and only 12 of them are closed down a day, I would hope that the citizens would take the law into their hands because they have the right to be deputies themselves.
Now listen, in Long Island.
In Long Island.
Don't burn down a house.
You don't know what you're talking about. Come back here again, and we'll come back in just a minute. Tell you what, this is Detroit. I'm Detroit. And the Detroit Police Officers Association do everything they can to help, man. But when they can't get there in time, if you're so wimpy you can't defend yourself, you can't make a citizen's arrest, then you have no right to freedom. 3 ladies up here. 3 ladies up here. What are your names?
I'm
Please.
I'm Karen McAllister.
Karen?
Julie Johnson.
Judy?
Kip Phillips.
All right. These are the bowling vigilantes. Karen, tell me what happened to you not too long ago and the three ladies.
We were bowling one Monday night, and some guy was at the bar, and he walked right over and tried to steal a purse that was at our table.
All right?
And he picked up that purse and made a run for the door.
He did a boogaloo out.
Yep, and beat on for the door.
What'd you do?
I ran after him.
What'd you do?
I tackled him like a
What'd you
football.
do?
I helped him all.
You got the guy. Did you handcuff him?
No, we tapped him to the ground. We had him in a headlock, and we pulled him to the ground. We guys jumped on him, and we weren't going to let him go.
Right in? All right. So you ladies defended yourself.
Exactly.
Did you have to kind of put the little tap on the guy to cool him?
Yeah,
Just a
he
little
struggled,
tap.
but we pinned him down, and he wasn't going to go nowhere.
Did the police come?
No, well...
Police never came.
No, they did.
They did come.
Yeah.
And he was arrested.
Yes.
Am I right today that he was found guilty and he was convicted?
No.
He wasn't found guilty?
We had a preliminary hearing.
He was found not guilty? Tell me what
There was a
happened.
preliminary,
Yeah.
and it got bumped up to the next highest court, where he's supposed to plead guilty to larceny from a person.
Okay, larceny from the person.
Right.
You'd say these ladies did it right, Mr. Attorney?
I couldn't hear you, Morton.
Would you say these ladies did it right?
Did they say the right thing? Absolutely.
They see a rat snot grabbing their purse, running out.
They have a perfect right to chase him and capture him. Absolutely.
Capture him.
Absolutely.
Have to tap him a little bit. All right. I'm
But
starting to
more,
like this guy.
what they don't have is decide what a crime is. You're talking about vigilante justice. This is response to a crime. Vigilante justice
What do you
is
think
when...
the 80-year-old guy was doing?
Hey, this-
Responding to some kids who were mowing
All
his
right,
lawn?
there was a group of skinheads in Oregon who don't believe that there should be any blacks in Oregon, so they beat a guy to death. That's vigilante justice.
And that's wrong. That's wrong. I agree with
They
you.
decide.
I agree
They
with you.
decide what the crime is, and then they decide what the punishment is. One of your colleagues down in Arizona gets shot by a group of right-wing guys because they don't like liberals. That's
Sure, he was in
vigilante
Denver, not Arizona.
Denver. That's
Denver.
liberante justice. That's justice.
That's not vigilante justice. That's
justice.
murder.
That's murder.
That's
And
murder.
That's right. And when people
These
decide...
ladies was
Wait a second,
condemned by a guy grabbing the purse.
Right.
Okay, we got
I
you.
agree with you.
If that was my wife, I'd have killed her.
Excuse me, I agree with you. But once you give
No
any...
reason for them ladies to go bowling, to enjoy themselves, and a dude comes in and snaps the purse. Where's these guys at? They're home watching the kids. So
Let me
they go
ask
out
you,
and enjoy
in the
themselves.
neighborhood, I just...
I didn't do.
Let me ask you a question.
I probably did work.
In an earlier segment, when we unfortunately got a man who acted like a racist on, who accused me of being a bigot, all right, we heard that the neighborhood in which you live was all lily white.
They're full of I live next door. I live next door to the crack house.
All right, but
Two doors from down.
what is the mix in that neighborhood? I mean, is it all white?
Black and white.
Black and white.
This is no racial problem. It was a crack house that moved in there, and the two guys, the young dudes, took care of it, burned it down,
Okay.
and the neighborhood is safe today.
Let me ask the lawyer here. You heard the argument that was made earlier. Mr. Steingold, you heard the argument that was made earlier by the unfortunate guest that we invited on this show. Was he talking facts in any way, shape, or form? Because if he was, I'm inviting him back.
There wasn't a grain of truth in anything he said. He obviously knows absolutely nothing about the case.
Let me introduce Michael Downey, president of the Detroit Bar Association. Michael, do you commend these women not just for preventing a theft, but for apprehending the criminal and holding him until the police arrived?
I would think that you could commend them for what they did. They took action, as the gentleman from the ACLU said, in response to a criminal act that was perpetrated on them. The question is, when do you go too far? When do you cross the line of being unreasonable in the reaction that you have? And that's why we got courts. That's why we have trials.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what he's saying. In other words, you're saying you need to use unnecessary force unless you've got a crime. I mean, I walk in and I find you standing over my dead wife with a gun in your hand. You start to run. It's okay if I say stop. You don't if I blow your brains out, right?
Well, I don't know about blowing the brains out, but you want to stop the man if it looks like he's just committed a crime.
Okay.
But that's a fact question. Now, that's the essence of the whole problem you're dealing with. All these things are fact questions. There are gradations. They're all gray shades of gray. It isn't black and white, and that's what makes
We're
it so
living in a
tough.
society now where it's becoming increasingly difficult for a police force the size of the one in Detroit to protect all of the citizens. And this is understandable. You've got 5,000 police in this area, 3 shifts, that divides them up to approximately 1,600 people per shift. You've got 10,000 crack houses in this town. You've got 12 arrests every day in closing down crack houses. You are never going to get ahead. And what are the judges doing to these people?
The judges, to the extent that the judges have bench trials, they're listening to the evidence and they're finding guilt where it's appropriate. And I don't think that there's any justifiable criticism against what the judges are doing. The juries are in most of these cases, because most of them are jury trials. And as we saw earlier when you were talking about this matter here, the jury came back with their decision. The system worked. I think that's one message you ought to try and get through. The system does work.
The
Granted,
system
there
works.
are
The system
shortcomings.
works if the criminal is apprehended. Let me just ask a question. Let me just ask a question. Come on out here, Pat.
First of all, this criminal justice system is not a criminal justice system. It's a criminal justice system against us, being a minority. And second of all, if you guys want to, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. And if you want to, you want justice, you better start with the #1 crack house, the White House in this country. Because that is the #1 crack house. You want justice?
Would it
At the
would it
top.
still be a crack house, sir, if Jesse Jackson were the president?
No, it would not be a crack house if Jesse
So
Jackson
it's only
was
a crack house of a white man?
No, because over 100 of the Reagan administration men have been indicted for crimes.
How many of them have gone to prison, sir?
I don't know how many have gone to prison, but
Try
they have.
three.
But that's right, three. So.
But what you got to understand, look, I agree with you. I agree with you. The justice system in this country sucks. All right? It sucks. But it's not only hurting black people.
That's right.
It's hurting poor whites. It's hurting the middle class of this country,
That's right.
which never has access to the power.
What do
you're right.
You know what?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm a black man. We got 10 crack houses on my block. They all run by black people. You from the ACLU ain't came nowhere near my neighborhood. Ain't broken my house. Ain't
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll come back again, and we'll be back right after these messages. Stay with us. Give us a break for a second, man. He's big enough to apologize. I'm big enough to apologize. For our audience at home who doesn't know, during one of the segment breaks, we had a little nasty disagreement, and the gentleman left, all right? Now, if we can work it out, how come the slime balls can't work it out among themselves, too? So let's all work it out. Detroit, Horace, let me ask you some questions, all right? I've purposely written some. How many crack dealers are there in Detroit, and how many get busted?
Well, I certainly can't give you that kind of information. We know that the city of Detroit is second to the city of New York in terms of crack cocaine distribution.
What's your method to preventing crime from moving into your neighborhood?
Basically,
and what did these people do that was really so wrong, all right? I know you feel it was racially motivated.
Well, that's not the only reason. The other reason I was against it is because it's against the law. They took a chance. The jury found in their favor. All of us won't be as lucky as that.
All right, that's possible.
The other thing is that what we're doing is, excuse me, let me finish. We're organizing what we call crack-wise communities, where we have people who involve block by block who are learning how to report crime to the police department so that they can expedite the closure of those crack houses. We believe the citizens have a responsibility in addressing this problem. The problem has been that when they do go to the police department, they say there's a crack house on my block. They don't know who comes and goes. They don't know any of the information that the police department needs. We're trying to assist people in learning how to report and the methods that they need to employ to do so.
Okay, so let me ask this gentleman. You're this gentleman's attorney. Right. You had some questions you wanted to ask. Go ahead and ask.
I sure did. You leveled some pretty serious accusations, and I don't think you know anything about
Put
the
that
facts.
I can't hear you.
Let me ask you a question. Were you at the trial?
Was I at the trial?
Were you at any part of the trial?
What difference does it make?
Answer the question.
What difference does it make?
Did you read any of the police reports?
I've read a lot of stuff, and I've
Did
talked
you read
with
any of the
people.
police reports?
Listen,
Were you at trial?
You know what,
wait a second.
You know what, Morton? That neighborhood would have been better served.
No.
Based on some of the information that I know about these gentlemen who participated, if they had moved off the block instead of burning down the
Why do they have to move out of the neighborhood?
I'm simply saying these gentlemen themselves engaged, some of them engaged in criminal activity.
Obviously not.
Perfect angels.
The jury says no, they didn't.
I'm not talking about this isolated incident.
I'm
saying there's other folks.
Get up there and come over. Get up there and come over.
These people have been involved in other activities.
You accuse these gentlemen of racism. You talk as though you know something about the case. I know something about the case. I know you weren't at trial. I know you didn't read any of the police reports. I know you didn't talk to one neighbor.
I didn't hang in Mississippi, but I know when they hang black folk, it's racist. So I didn't need to be in trial. No one
when you
has
burn down a
mentioned
crack
this.
dealer,
Let me tell you
don't
what.
make that racist. Make it a crime if you want to. Don't make it racist.
Fact. Had it been white folks in that house in an all-white neighborhood, they may not have resorted to
burned them down. Burn them down.
You're talking about knowing anything about the facts. This neighborhood was over half black, and the blacks on the neighborhood supported what happened. They were being victimized the same way the whites on the block were being victimized. This house was abandoned. These punks took over an abandoned house and decided to victimize this neighborhood.
And
you're trying to tell us
the neighborhood racially integrated.
It's in change.
And you're telling us that the legitimate law-abiding
I'm just saying that's one particular point.
Second,
You
all right?
have to put your hand in my face.
You're telling us that the
point.
legitimate law-abiding citizens of that neighborhood should pick up and move and turn
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I said these gentlemen who have been involved in criminal activity themselves.
Let me hear the man.
These gentlemen here are not perfect angels. These gentlemen, this was not the first thing that they burned, my friend.
Did we burn something else?
But the point is, that's just one issue. The issue is it's illegal. Number two, if it's justifiable for them to employ those kinds of violent tactics to accomplish what they want, then why can't I do the same thing?
You can. If you live in a white neighborhood and the house next to you is a crack dealer, all right? And you took it upon yourself.
I don't have to resort
would
to
you be a racist? Would you be a racist?
I have been involved in eliminating crack houses from neighborhoods and have not had to personally burn anybody's house down, raid any home or anything else.
Have you had kids on the street when
I have two kids.
I
have a grandmother, 96 years old, that lives 3 doors from the crack house. And it has been closed. You know why it's been closed? Because we organized the neighbors in the block, and we went to the people who were responsible.
Can I ask you one question?
Ask me anything you want.
Have you ever been on my block in Barlow?
Have I ever been on your block? I can't say that I've had the pleasure.
Well, then how can you argue with the
You're more
lawyer
than welcome to
and
come
the
on.
gentleman sitting over there about the crack house that burned down 2 doors from me?
I can argue because I don't agree with what they did.
Nobody agreed what they did, but they had to do something.
Well, you just said you agree, but here's a gentleman that's with me. He doesn't agree either, okay?
All right.
He
I'll tell you what.
doesn't agree.
I want the audience to tell me what's going on. We're going next. go to the folks. Go ahead, pal.
Gotta say, I believe that if they screw with us, that is the crack people, the people that screw with the power of Detroit. We should take advantage of them before they get a chance to screw us up. We gotta stick strong. And the police, how often can you call the police? No.
You on drugs?
No.
Good for you. What would you do if you had a crack house? Would you report it? Report it to the police if you had money in there?
Hey, well, if you call the police, what are they gonna do? They come in 4 hours. What about the 4 hours of time we gotta wait for them to help us out? We'll take care of them. We'll take advantage of them.
If you have a chance to get the police, always get the police.
Of course.
If there's life in danger,
you gotta take it, man. You gotta take their life before they take ours.
That has not been brought up here. They burn this crack house down. The people that I know in neighborhoods that operate crack houses, they're not afraid of police. So how in God's name are you going to go?
So they better be scared of us if they ain't scared of the police. We'll get them. They don't want, we'll get them. We'll get them.
No, I want the folks.
What you have now is you're destroying the criminal justice system and supporting it and replacing it with nothing. What you're going to have is what you had in Argentina, where people ride through the streets, decide what's right and wrong, and kill everybody they don't like.
That we don't want.
Well, what have you got in its place? You're recommending that people go out and say, that's no damn good,
don't put
burn
words
it down.
in my mouth.
You've been
don't put words in my mouth.
What are you recommending to take the place of the criminal justice system?
I recommend, first of all, that the people make every attempt to get the police. And then I recommend if there's a life in danger, save that life. Unfortunately,
so far you haven't said anything wrong, but so far you're instigating all of these people to go out and kill.
I'm telling these people, protect your own life, all right? Protect your own life.
Was his life in danger? He was in another house. How is his life in danger?
Anyone who smokes crack, their life's in danger, pal. Ask Len Bias.
We're forgetting one thing. We're all forgetting one thing. It's because of crazy Marxists like this guy right here that we have to deal with this at a city level, because the people that you influence in our Congress cannot grasp the people that supply the coke and the crack. So we have to deal with it in the streets of our city.
Baloney, the death.
We have to deal with the streets of our city.
I'm in the same streets you are.
Yeah?
And I have the same vote you have.
Yeah, the vote to get the prayer out of the schools is another thing.
What's that got to do with this?
Because the kids don't have any, they can't mention morals. Because morals stems from ethics.
Of course you can.
Ethics stems from a belief. I work in the public schools. Don't tell me what
I worked in the public schools for 27 years.
And that's what's wrong with the public schools.
No. The fact that you're the loudest doesn't make you the right.
I feel if a person commits a crime, then after that, they've lost their rights, and that person that they committed that crime against, if they're caught or after the process, they can do whatever measures they have to.
Within reason.
Within reason to take action back. If they've committed a crime, they've lost that right.
I said, this is supposed to be about a problem that took place in Detroit. 99% of the folk in this audience don't live in Detroit. I like to invite them to my neighborhood, put them to work.
All the people who live in Detroit, stand up. Everyone who lives in Detroit. Looks like Detroit City to me, baby.
Gentlemen, a question. I'd like to ask the gentleman in the yellow tie.
I live in East Detroit.
Did you try to get police involvement?
Did you try to get police involvement?
And how long did you try before you went through with it?
Weeks, days, everything. They always.
You're not doing your job.
Go ahead, pal. Go ahead.
Say one thing. I'm sick and tired. Every time.
Let me hear.
Every time something like this happens, is guys like him always want to make a racial issue out of it. That's a bunch of bull. It's not a racial issue. It's something that concerns black, white, Mexicans, Chinese, everybody. Americans. That's
got it, baby. I want to hear this man.
If it's not racial, tell him to ride out to Dearborn or ride out to some community where he's not wanted.
There's plenty of racism.
Racism been around forever. It's going to be around. That ain't got nothing to do with it. This was not a racial issue.
What I was trying to say. I'm just saying that was one aspect
We know
of the whole
racism.
argument.
We gotta stop the racism by blaming everything on racism.
That's what we gotta do.
And we gotta get the whites who are racist. We gotta get the whites who are racist and the blacks who are racist.
We gotta get rid of all of them. Who lock their doors, pull their shades down, to get up and go out and assume some responsibility for dealing with the problem. That's what they've got to do.
Stay. Let me hear from you. Let America hear from you.
I want to address something to the gentleman on the end there.
This one in the yellow tie?
The one on the end with the striped tie.
You, sir.
He made a statement that the system is good, but the system is not good in Detroit. I stay on the east side of Detroit, near an area called Mack and Gray, and crack is being done all the time around there. And if the system is so great here in Detroit, why is the police officers, judges, and teachers getting crack selling or buying drugs in our city?
And it's happening in New York. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in Los Angeles, all right? You want to get teed off at a system? Get teed off at a system that is allowing genocide through the use of crack, and it could be the biggest racists in the world are the crack dealers and the crack suppliers. Those are the racists.
The reason why I mentioned anti-this is because the city, if the city, the state, and the government is not causing, is damn sure not helping by not enforcing the laws. Solutions, it would be mainly three. Cut out parole. You kill somebody life without parole, not the death penalty. You gotta, I know you disagree with me on that. I have a friend serving life without parole. He say the only privilege they don't have is a woman. They wear gold ropes, chains, and everything, you know. And the last thing is these 13, 14, 15-year-old boys killing people. 13, a teenager. Let them be charged for what they do. They know what they are doing. They know.
I got to say, this isn't about race. It's about people being animals. It's not about black people. It's not about white people. All these people are just animals. Drugs don't know colors, man. Right. And they should be put in cages like animals.
Yeah, let me tell you something. There is no war on drugs going on. If there was a war on drugs going on, man, you'd level the fields in Colombia. You'd level them in Mexico. I mean, we're spending millions of bucks doing everything except fighting a real war. Go ahead, sir.
This guy says how good the system is and everything. I got a good story for you about the system. He says, let the system take care of himself. Well, I got a buddy that's a cop in the Detroit area. He tells me that he went to a fight that was at a crack house. He goes in there and starts checking IDs. Who's he find there? 2 area police officers. No, they were not there undercover. They were not there undercover because they said if they were, they would have known about it. And they weren't there undercover. They were there for their own selves.
Crack houses, white folks from the suburbs to come to our city.
That was because they're selling it. That house was in a suburb court.
I'm not disagreeing.
If the white folks from across 8 Mile Road wouldn't come over here and buy drugs, we should be cut down.
They don't come in the city for it.
But let me tell you, my friend.
That's a low blow against the Detroit police department.
You're gonna find bad police, bad priests,
TV talk
bad
show
rabbis
hosts in crack house.
You bet your life you do. You're going to... Would you name them on the show? I'd like to hear what they are.
I don't want to get sued.
Let me see this man. Come here, man. Come here. I want to see this man. Come here.
Yo, everybody's talking about racism. Anybody that lives in Detroit or Metro Detroit knows one of the biggest dope dealers in this city was white, and they nailed his ass. White boy Ricky Worshey, and they nailed him. So everybody up here talking about racism, nobody brought that up yet. If you want to talk about burning down crack houses, yeah, I burned down a black-owned crack house, I burned down a white-owned crack house, I burned down a Mexican Hey, boy, and we didn't kill it out food. They came in here and told us what they want the guns.
Get the police to help us. Let me see, man.
There's an issue right here. You know, I listen to this guy right when he gets up here. The first thing that he says, I mean, as far as I know, right now we live in America, don't we?
We better, pal.
And we have the freedom to live wherever we want, don't we?
We better.
And we employ the police to
Not if you're economically deprived.
All right, well, whoever financially capable. We employ the police through taxpayers' dollars to serve and protect the public, okay? Now, the first thing this guy says when there's a crack house
you want to fight crime, baby? Start paying your police a decent salary. Make a career out of it. Make a career out of it. That's what you need to do. I'll tell you, we're not talking about taking the law into our own hands here, but if the police and the pablum-puking judicial system can't protect us from every slime ball that wants to rob, kill, and rape our citizens, then I just say, defend yourself. Kick ass!